Good morning, everyone. I guess that's loud enough. Welcome to Amsterdam. And welcome in this historic building as well. I don't know if you had a chance to look around, but very important stuff happened in this building. If you look to my right, your left, you can see a few of the portraits of our royalty. They actually created one of the first banks in this building. And if you get a chance, during one of the breaks, you can go downstairs and the actual huge vault is there, and you can actually have a party in the vault if you want to. So I invite you to go there and have a look at it. But maybe even more importantly, right now this building serves as the city archive of the city of Amsterdam, the central archive. It stores everything with respect to the city of Amsterdam. And as we probably all know, storing history is very important because if there's one thing you can do from history is learn from it. And that learning is, I think, why we're all here. We're going to exchange ideas, experiences, listen to our colleagues, to our clients, to the people from the Axoniq team, and learn how to get better. Let me show you what that is all about. So on the first day, we're going to have this keynote. Not me, I'm just doing the short introduction. After that, there's going to be presentations and demos. There's one demonstration presentation going downstairs that is about the DCB. Everyone know what DCB is? A lot of excitement on DCB, yeah, I know. All right, and there's also an executive roundtable that's also downstairs, and we're having a few seats left. So if you want to join that, please go out to the register and sign up for that. That's also very exciting because we're going to talk about strategic roadmap and what would you like to have in the product in the future. So if you want to have input there, please go out and register at the desk. Then we're going to have lunch, workshops, more roundtables, and a wrap-up of the day. On day number 2, it's a similar setup. I advise you to scan the QR code because then you'll have the complete schedule on your phone and you can check out which one of the parallel sessions you want to attend. Okay, that's enough. I think that's all of the household matters. Wanted to briefly look back with you guys. This is actually the 8th conference that we're organizing. In the 9th year, we had 1 year that we didn't do it, and you guessed it, that was COVID year, yeah? We didn't do the conference there. But we spent, with our team, 8-9 years on developing the tools that you like and use and use in practice so much. But then something happened, and I guess you guys are aware. There is the thing that I would call the AI revolution. It impacts so many lives, but definitely also the lives of us developers and people in the software development space. And as a result, we very much experienced a huge spike in interest of our tooling because that seems to be a perfect fit. And that led us to really think with the team, and we raised some extra capital that you probably read about. And we also decided to go out and look for help. We set up the criteria for, okay, what would this person have to look like? And well, first of all, we wanted that person to be very experienced with open source. We wanted that person to have an experience with developer tooling, because that's what we're all about. We're about tools for developing. We wanted that person to also have experience scaling the company from the size that we're at now to something much bigger, because it's our ambition to change bespoke custom software development around the world. Obviously, the whole trigger here was the AI, so person needs to be very aware of what's going on in AI. And finally, we definitely saw that the change of adoption with this AI is so much faster in the US. So that person also needed to be in the US. And when you take all of this together, basically we thought that we would never find that person. And against all odds, we did find her. And I'm super happy and proud to introduce to you our new CEO, Jessica Reeves.
Am I on? Okay. All right. I'm Jessica Reeves. I flew over from Austin, Texas. I come from an open source background. How many of you have heard of Anaconda? It's in the Python space. I was COO at Anaconda for about 8 years. So really understand the power of open source and how important it is to innovation and tech in total. But this is my first inaugural Axoniq conference. Hopefully many, many more to come. I was told not to raise the roof, but I love doing it. And excited to be here. So I thought I would start by telling you how I found out about Axoniq and why I joined Axoniq. So somewhere in here, Barry Liebert, raise your hand, Barry. Barry was the CEO and chairman of the board at Anaconda for years. We worked together. He gave me a call and he said, Jess, there is this company called Axoniq. And by the way, we were saying the name wrong for like 3 months before we realized it's Axoniq. He said, you really need to look at it. At that time, I was, just kind of cruising. I was good. I said, all right, let me look at it, Barry. I trust you. And after I got through, this isn't an event management software like today's event. That's the first one I thought it was. I realized, wow, this is something really big, something that will be really impactful in the AI space. And I suddenly realized I really had to join for a lot of reasons. But the biggest reason was for Rosalind. Rosalind is my 6-year-old daughter. She's very rambunctious, as you can see, and not for the normal reasons that you think. Not because financial stability, yes, of course. Not because I want to be a role model to her, yes, of course. But there was an aha moment for me right about the time where I was considering this. And how many of you are parents in this room? Wow, okay, so about half of us. And you know the struggles of bedtime, right? Especially when they're little. It's like a war path for bedtime. And my aha moment was, 8 p.m. is religiously her bedtime. Goes to bed every day at 8 p.m. And she said to me, well, it's 10 p.m. now, Mom, because I asked AI and it says bedtime is 10 p.m. They said it's 10 p.m. Well, first of all, I didn't love that she was talking as if AI was a person, like they said. I was like, okay, we'll talk about that later. But what dawned on me is AI didn't know that Rosalind was at that time 5. It didn't know that she refused to eat all day. I think she had like gummies as her food and nutrition for the day. It didn't know she was going through a huge growth spurt and was cranky as can be. And didn't know kindergarten was like literally a month or 2 away. It didn't have the context of who was asking that question, a 5-year-old girl. Now, this is a funny bedtime story, but this should really matter to all of us. It matters when Roz is 15 more years from now, when she's asking AI about what college should she go to. What medicine should she take for some symptoms that she has? Is this okay behavior for my partner is treating me, right? This should matter to all of us. And it reminded me of a quote from Buckminster Fuller. Buckminster Fuller is the architect of the Geodome. And he says, we are called to be architects of the future, not its victims. Why is that so powerful to me? is no matter what happens, I don't believe anything happens to us. We are the authors of our own lives and our own destiny. And I hold that very personally to me. And that fits in right now where we all are today. We are at the center of the biggest technology wave that we've ever seen, that humanity has ever seen. And every generation of builders, and I would argue all of us are builders in this room, get a chance to architect that future. And this is our time. And specifically, as Jeroen said, I think this is Axoniq's time. We have been building event sourcing, which really gathers the power of context in applications and systems for AI. So AI isn't answering questions, not knowing this is a 5-year-old girl that's about to go to kindergarten that hasn't eaten all day, right? So we have some fundamental technology problems, right, that we help solve. One is the foundation crisis. You can't build a skyscraper on the foundation of a single-story home, as I say. And the reality is we are doing that right now. Many companies are doing that right now. We are pouring trillions of dollars into AI transformation. How many of you have heard, like, we have an AI transformation, we have AI strategy coming up, right? It's the huge buzzword. And we're pouring in trillions of dollars on a foundation that is not built to handle it, that will crumble eventually underneath it. There's 3 critical load-bearing walls, if you will. There's memory. There's a memory issue. Systems today can't remember in CRUD-like based systems, right? They remember the current state of what's so today and forget everything else. Imagine making life decisions based off of who you are today right now and not your whole life history. That's pretty scary, and that's what our systems and applications are doing. Coordination. It can't think well. It's not coordinating with all of the different agents that are now pinging the systems, all of the different systems that are connected to it. And scalability. It can't evolve. It was built for times where there were more simple workflows, not thousands of AI agentic pings hitting it every second of the day. So I argue we must rebuild from the foundation up, and we must do it now. So this is a picture of a foundation, a strong, sturdy cement iron foundation. And we've been building it for 8 years now as Axoniq. And I learned that actually Allard was building it 8 years before that, so about 16 years. And it's built on the solid open source foundation, which is so important because it gets the brilliance and innovation of something beyond just one small company. With that, we have 73 million downloads in just the last 2 years. To put that number in perspective, we could hold hands like this as humans and loop the globe 3 times. That is what 73 million is. So all of us in this room should be super proud that that is the work that we've been doing. We process 10 billion business events per day on Axon server. So just like, I can't snap it, just like that, that's 100,000 events that just went through our ecosystem. Another 100,000 events. It's kind of mind-boggling. And that's why 80% of Fortune 100 companies use us, and 60% of Fortune 500 companies use us. We are battle tested. This isn't a cute wrapper around a chatbot. This is durable, systematic, architectural technology for real stuff. So we've built the foundation, but I'd argue we'd have to evolve. We have to evolve. We need to build off of that powerful foundation and allow people to access that foundation in different ways and more powerful ways. And we need to build skyscrapers together off that foundation. So it's my pleasure to reintroduce the company, Axoniq. So one word, not Axon IQ, one word, Axoniq. You can see the branding is bold, it's simple, it's sexy, if a brand can be sexy. And I'd argue it matches our technology and the power of our technology. You can see the logo is interconnected nodes, just like interconnected nodes of your system. And the orange, we had a huge debate about this internally. The orange is staying, and it's in honor of the Netherlands in which this company was built. We are telling the world we are the AI backbone for this new revolution. We give enterprises something that they can trust to run their agentic systems in the context they need for a single source of truth. And all of this is built on open source, on such a strong foundation that all of you contribute to in this room. We're introducing a new Axoniq Platform, and you'll hear from Allard and the team in the different workshops. It's built off the foundation layer, as I said, and that's so important. Nothing works without a strong foundation. So this is the event sourcing, the CQRS that we've been doing for decades. The intelligence layer, and this is the AI reasoning capabilities built within it. And the agentic layer, capabilities to make better, faster decisions and more accessible to everyone, lowering that barrier of entry. So everyone has a choice, and especially those in this room, as leaders, as developers, you can continue to build off of insufficient grounds, or you can build for the future. So developers, do you want to patch all day or do you want to build for the future? For CIOs, do you want a single source of truth or do you want a black box? For business leaders, take all of the events in your system, all the micro and macro decisions of your system, that will surface business intelligence, giving you an edge. For the industry, AI first companies will win. And for all of us, the longer you wait, it just becomes more and more expensive to make that change. But I'd say for the most important thing is really for all the Rosalinds in the world and all the kids growing up in the AI era. So with that said, I'd like to reintroduce the new Axoniq. We handle the background complexity. I hope you guys can focus on your craft, ship faster. And as a true Texan, I'm going to butcher his name, but I love to introduce Allard Buijze to the stage, our CTO. What's it bad? Buijze?
Good morning. It's interesting that for me, traveling a lot and having this last name that is only pronounceable in this very small part of the world that they call the Netherlands. Okay, Belgium as well. They managed to pronounce it, but if you look at the size of Netherlands and Belgium compared to the rest of the world, well, I'm sorry, I can't help it. So I want to talk about hypes today. And those who know me probably know that I'm not really a trend follower. I don't care about hypes at all. But there's something interesting about every hype. And I see a challenge in every hype. And that challenge is to find the actual substance in there. In all the people going kumbaya, right? Where is the real thing in there that actually makes the clock tick? And there's been a few hypes that I've seen and that I've seen come and seen go. I had to think of a few this morning just for fun. Does anyone know Tamagotchi? Never had one in my hands. Does anyone know Flippos? Never cared about it. There's no substance in there. To some extent, blockchain did a little bit of the same to me. There was so much hype around it, and I thought, hey, there's some substance, but nobody's using the substance. There's something to it. And then there's AI, right? AI. That's interesting. There's a lot of hype around AI. There's kids thinking it's human, which is kind of dangerous. There's adults thinking it's human, and that's even more dangerous. There's a beautiful article that thanks for sending that to me. It's called, "Oh, Big Bag of Words, Will You Go to Prom With Me?" Just find it, read it, it's really beautiful. But this is not really a hype. This is a wave. This is actually the 5th wave of computing that we're entering right now. And the 5th wave means that there were 4 other waves before that. So let's have a look at what these waves were. The first one, 1950s to 70s-ish, right? The time frames are more or less. Mainframe era. Anyone remember that? Really? 70s to 90s, personal computers. That's my era. I was born in that era, and I got to think personal computers are a normal thing. Well, they were not, but they were to me. Then just before the 2000s, the internet. And people really thought it was a hype. I literally heard people say, the internet, it'll blow over. I guess it's still here. And then in 2000s, we had mobile and cloud. Suddenly, not only the internet, but an immense amount of compute was just in our pockets, right? The phones we have nowadays have more computing powers than the computers used to send Apollo to the moon. And I guess we're not capable of sending any Apollos to the moon anymore, even with the amount of compute that we have nowadays. Anyway, that's a different story. And of course, in the 20s, more or less today, there's another wave. And that wave is the actual combination of AI, IoT, and Edge. It is not just AI, but it is getting together with this wave of the fact that compute is everywhere. It's not even in our pocket. It's going to be everywhere. Every little device that we'll have. We've got light bulbs with computers inside. Scary, powerful. So this is the age we live in. It's a little bit down below, but the 20s. Just in case you haven't checked the calendar this morning. But the architectural foundations are based on very much the things that we've done in that era. Yes, we've got microservices from here, but if you look at the structure of every microservice, this layered architecture, does that sound familiar? That's problem solving from this time. Beautiful, we still use it today. And we expect to solve those problems using those solutions. That will be fun, I tell you. And I've experienced that fun, unfortunately, several times in my career. So if we look at software and the amount of effort that we need to spend to add features to software, we can draw a graph where on the horizontal axis, right down there, we have the number of features present. And on the vertical axis, we have the amount of effort that we need to spend to add a new feature. And we all know greenfield projects, do we? Does anyone not know greenfield projects here? Okay, good, I'm happy. They're beautiful because you can design them exactly the way you want. And they're fantastic. Everything is right. Everything is easy and smooth. Until that moment comes where you are asked to add a feature and suddenly it gets hard. There's too many connections. I changed something here. Why does that break? Doesn't make sense. And then you dive into it and you find out, oh, it does make sense. There's a big relational database behind it that connects everything to everything. So I think to myself, I'm going to do it differently this time. And this is something that Just about every developer has said at least once in their career. Any developer here that never thought this? It's okay to admit. I won't believe you, but it's okay to admit. So I wanted to do it differently. And for me, it was in the early 2007, more or less. And I started looking into this thing called domain-driven design. If you don't know what it is, no problem. But it really seemed to address some of the problems that I was facing at the time. So I studied, there's this beautiful, small, massive book that you can try to read. It's really tough. I managed to get to the end. I don't know how, but I managed to get to the end and started to apply it. And guess what happens? The complexity did not explode. I got to the point where I thought normally this project would have exploded, and it didn't. And I was so excited and I was so happy. And then the customer called and said, oh, by the way, there's one more thing. Boom. So I thought to myself, I'm going to do it differently this time. And the problem that we're facing is that the environment around us is changing, and it is adding a lot of extra pressure to the systems that we're building. Right? And there's a rising demand for what I like to call ilities, and those are the things that are not functional, although functionality almost fits there. They're the ilities, the capabilities that your system needs to have just because of the environment that we're in, just because our users all have a mobile phone. Think of scalability, extensibility, flexibility, elasticity, maintainability, auditability, explainability, etc., etc., etc. Right? All those little ilities, they're in the back of our head continuously. We just need to add a feature, but it's not just a feature, it's all of those ilities as well, over and over and over again. And I don't know if you've noticed, but this next generation has a very different perception of time as well. People more and more expect everything to be on time, available anytime and all the time, and have all the data in real time as well. Anything slower than that is completely unacceptable. Reminds me of the days where I had my first Commodore 64. I've only had one, so the Commodore 64. And we had this tape drive. And if you had to load something from the tape drive, you would know one thing for sure. It will not take longer than 90 minutes to load, because that's how long the tapes are. And on one side, if it takes more than 45 minutes to load, you have to stick around because you need to know when to turn the tape around to load the second half of your application. Who here is ready to wait 45 minutes for something to load? All right. There we go. So to keep up to date with all these new expectations, there's this beautiful word that developers love to use and that management typically hates, and it's called refactoring. And refactoring is an art, a costly art, of modifying the code to just survive in a changing environment without adding any business value. See what the problem is? It's costly, but not adding any business value. And this could easily cost tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars or euros. But if it starts to cost millions, we have a different word for it. And then it's completely okay for management. And it's called digital transformation. It is the same thing. Just so you know, just saying. Now, if we go back to the waves, all of these ilities have evolved throughout the years. And every little ility during every wave has added to the pressure of the systems that we need to build. Right. So from the mainframe wave to the personal computer wave, we estimate, we as a very broad community of human beings on this planet, estimate that it had about a factor 2 to 5. Because of course, a lot of people suddenly had personal computers. There's a lot more computers in the world than mainframes. But most of them were just sitting at home, being disconnected from the rest. We could not use our computers to put pressure on these central systems within companies. But as personal computers arose, we also had some of those on our desks. Well, not on my desk, I was drinking milk from a bottle. But as soon as those computers got connected to each other, this is where things got interesting. And there is a 10 to 50 times more pressure on our systems in the internet wave, right? This really changed a lot in how to build software. And then again, the mobile and cloud era, add another 5 to 10 times. And just to put this into perspective, there are some estimates of what is the AI wave going to do. And of course, we don't know. We can't measure, but we can estimate. And the range in that estimate is actually quite large. And I took a little bit of the lower end because I think that's more realistic. But we have to be prepared for 10 to 100 times more. And this is the low end. There are some estimates, some thoroughly done estimates that say it's going to be 1,000. And I need you to let that sink in for a while. Imagine a wave 100 times bigger than the biggest wave you've seen so far. And don't let the numbers fool you. You can think, well, that's 10 to 50. We've seen big waves before. Mind you, that wave has already been resized by 10 times. And now that result, we are resizing by 100 times. So if your software is still running in this era, please go get a life vest, because this wave is big. There's a life vest under your seat. I don't know. Now, I hope for most of you, the last digital transformation, the one that brought you to the cloud era, is over. If it's not, well, 10x that. This is your budget request for the next digital transformation. Whatever you had for the previous one, 10 times more. AI is going to make the cloud wave look like a ripple. Now, some of you will will try to survive. I don't think some of you, actually. You're all here because you're not here to survive on this wave. You are here because you want to thrive on that wave. Have fun. I was told not to make the comparison to surfing, but here I am. You can thrive on a wave, right? You can have fun on it. You can use the wave for the better. To thrive on this wave, there are 3 things that we need in our software, and they've actually been said already. One of those things is data in context. Not just data. We've got data all over the place. There's data everywhere. But that data doesn't tell us any stories. It doesn't tell us anything other than it's 5. Or it's approved. What does that mean? We need more context. We need to understand, where did this 5 come from? Was it 5 because it was 4 before, which is a good thing, or maybe a bad thing? Or was it 6 before and now it's 5? We don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. Except that it's 5. So that context is very important. Governance, or auditability especially, is going to be increasingly important as well. As we will have agents that make decisions on their own, is there the multiple of it? Because I don't want to humanize AI. The its will make decisions on their own. And we for sure want to be able to track exactly what they've decided and why. Because we don't want to wake up realizing that it has deleted our production database. Does anyone not read that story about this guy who woke up to an empty production database? Well, it certainly did solve the performance problem. And I don't remember the name of the company that he used to build the agents with, but the CEO of that company apologized and said, yes, this shouldn't have happened. Of course it shouldn't have happened. You should never allow any AI thing to drop your production database. It is indeed completely unacceptable. So we have to think about what are we allowing it to do and how do we track what it does. We need it for ourselves, and increasingly we'll need it for the governments telling us that we need it. Right? We already see some laws changing in this respect. And the third one is scalability. If we have systems that need to handle 10 to 100 times more pressure, we better make them scalable. Do these three look familiar? I know there's some people around here that have done event sourcing for, quick math, 16, 17 years. Am I going back too far? There's some day one people in the room. 17 years ago. These three reasons are the reasons I started with Axon in the first place. But not for the AI wave. I did it to thrive on this previous wave, to solve the problems that I saw there as well. But they're not as big, or they are 10 to 100 times smaller as the problems that we're going to get now. So accidentally, Axon, and event sourcing in general, they tick those boxes. And the essence of that, and the reason why they do that, is because they don't just use events as a side effect or events as it's a nice thingy to use to communicate between systems. It's because it allows us to be event-driven. All the way from within, right? Events are not a side effect. They are the source of everything. They are the things that allow us to be scalable, to allow us to be auditable, and give us the context that we need. So whatever you do with your events, please do not put them on whatever kind of technology that treats it like sewage and just moves it to the next place and dumps it. Store it. Keep it. It is your gold for tomorrow. And of course, we've been building tools for the past 8 years to help making that easier for you. So introducing the slightly modified logos to match the new company logo. And if you squint, you can still see the old logos in there, right? But we've been building new versions of Axon Server and Axon Framework in the past, year that really make event sourcing easier for you. We call it DCB, but I hope one day we don't have to call it anything. Someone recently told me that DCB is a thing that deserves to not have a name. Right here, he is. He told me that, and I thought that's a weird comment. And then I realized, no, it's the way it should have been, right? We're making event sourcing easy, but we've also made it hard. We, as a community, trying to figure out what this thing is 16 years ago. And it's about time we make it accessible to everyone. Last year, we've also launched Axoniq Console, giving you information, let's say intelligence, around what is my application doing and where can I tune it? Where can I make it faster? Where is it spending time where it really shouldn't? And it allows you to coordinate some of the processing capacity as well to make sure that your application is stably performing and doing its duties. But in this industry, it is not all about tools. And I love this scene from Karate Kid, right? The wax on, wax off. And it is all about discipline and practice and doing things. Even things that seem useless or a waste of time, but they are powerful and they are essential to getting the right result. And what we need is the combination of the two. But as engineers, we tend to focus on tools, right? Because tools are cool. Practices, waxing cars is definitely not cool. But we don't have to wax cars. In our industry, there is a concept called event modeling. And the creator of event modeling is in the room as well, so I'll try not to butcher this too much. There is a door right here, which is safe exit for me. But the thing that struck me when I started to do event modeling is that it has the exact right abstraction level. It is not too technical. You should have non-technical people in the room. I like the way Alberto Brandolini phrased it. He said, he's the event storming guy, which is similar but different. And he said, you need two types of people in the room. People with questions and people with answers. Developers, engineers, are typically the people with questions, although they tend to answer them quite often as well. But they are the people with questions. The business, product owners, whoever, they are the people with answers. And you need both in the room to get the best results. Strange things happen if you miss one of the two categories. If it's a developer party, developers start to act as if they know everything, and they will start answering all of the questions because in the end they need answers. So they'll just make up answers. You'll build a beautiful product that solves no problem at all. And I was doing this session for a client and traveled half the planet to go there, trying to do a session. There were 30 engineers in the room. And we were posting stickies on the wall, right? Just to get an understanding of this very complex process that they were working on. Actually, they had been working on it for 6 months. And during that session, they realized they had no clue what they were building in those 6 months. That's interesting in itself. And then I got a phone call. So I had to step out of the room and take the call. And next to the door, there was this glass pane. You know, those typical closed rooms, but you can just peek inside to see if the room is free or not. And then it struck me. I just saw 30 engineers putting stickies on a wall. And I thought that cannot give the right message. If a manager paying the bills walks by and just sees 30 engineers putting stickies on walls, is that a good way to spend your money? Yes, to some extent it is, to build a common understanding of your system. But is that really the way you want to go into all the details of building a system from start to end in all its facets? And this is where I too started to have a dream. That one day we could just tell a computer what it is that we wanted to build. That it was capable of figuring out what are the journeys, what are the different slices and steps in those journeys that users can go through in that system. And then it would figure out which components do we need to build to support those journeys. And once we like those components and we approve them as human beings, because in the end, humans must be in that loop, it could write most of the code for us, so we don't have to build all the boilerplate ourselves. And once we have built all those systems and they're beautiful and they're capturing all this rich data in context, you could sense the context in that data, right? You can almost touch it. Wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to build massive projections and do replays of billions and billions of events just to get an answer to a question, but we could just ask it the question, and it would be able to figure out what is the query that you need to run and how can I get the data for you. One day. Well, today is that day. For the last half year, almost, we've been working on Axoniq Platform. Axoniq Platform is the, well, one-stop shop for everything Axon, if you want to name it in one way. And yes, there's a lot of AI in different places. There's the Ask AI. We've been thinking about calling it Ask Allard, but that was getting a little bit too personal. My first suggestion was immediately, no, let's do Ask Stephen, because he gives better answers. So we never settled on that argument, so now it's just Ask AI. But that AI is given the knowledge of our documentation, and everything that we know is fed into it, so it can give you better answers as well. So you can ask it the thing, anything about Axon. But also allows you to build applications. So you can start by specifying your requirements in human language, and it can be really as short as, give me a banking system. Okay, it will give you a banking system, probably not the one you had in mind, but if you give it a little bit more specification, it actually goes a very long way. And then it maps out the journeys for you. Now these journeys are described in text, but those familiar with event modeling, they will immediately recognize the event modeling in there. We deliberately did not choose a graphical representation, and I can go on in a lot of details about that, but given there's some timekeepers here, I'll not do that this time. And it is our job as humans to verify the AI-generated journeys. Because as lovely as AI is, it sometimes gets it wrong. Even humans get it wrong. Did anyone ever get a specification that was right completely? You always have iterations, right? It always goes wrong. You have to check, recheck, and check again. So once you approve of those journeys, it will figure out the components to build. Those are the Axon components that we know, the command handlers, the event handlers. No aggregates. Yay. Am I the only one excited about not having aggregates? Okay, good. Figure out the messages between those components. Those are important as well. What messages flow between them? And at this point, we have to get into the details, right? What information is part of these messages? And ultimately, with a bit of configuration, what kind of frameworks do you like? Of course, Axon, that's out of the question, but which version and which? Do you want Java, Kotlin? There's always debates about those. Make sure you pick the right one. And then we'll generate the code for you. Throughout the day, there will be workshops and sessions to show you much more about this. I didn't want to steal their thunder. I think I'm already stepping over the line here, telling too much about this, but that's their problem, not mine. You can actually see this in action, and you can play around with it. It is live already. You can actually don't do it now, but maybe during the break, just find yourself a nice corner to play around with it. And we've also built the analytics agent. And this is an agent that is part of Axon Server. And there's a special type of node that you can launch for Axon Server that stores information in a slightly different way. So it is not optimized for typical event sourcing, but it is optimized for analysis. And you can ask it insane queries. I mean, we've seen multi-page queries come by, and it gives you the answer in a few milliseconds. Right? It's really designed for very fast analysis of your event store. But the agent allows you to do that in human language as well. Now we all know that you can ask AI already. You can just open up Claude or ChatGPT. You can ask it any question. You can even ask it what time is bedtime. And it will sound absolutely certain. It will tell you 10 p.m. is bedtime, period. That's it. No arguments. Right? Well, hold on. That's not what. How? Where do you get that answer from? Nobody knows. Why was it Claude, ChatGPT? Why does it say 10 p.m. is bedtime? Where does it get that information from? We don't have a way to trace where information came from. And this is very important for us. For us, we don't give you just the answer. We don't just say, oh, you have 1,000 customers that are that should be treated as VIPs. Here's the list. Why? Why those 1,000? Why not others? It is very important to be able to trace back exactly what the question was that was asked to the system holding the data, so that we can track whether the answer is correct or not. Now, whether we understand everything that goes on there is a different story, but we want to be able to track the lineage of our data. And this is what is available today, literally as of today. But our journey doesn't end here. We go like, oh, we've done it, we've launched. It would be nice. I definitely know some engineers that would have been like, yes, it would be nice to take a break. But as we say, grab a banana, grab some water, let's run. We have much more ambitions. Now, as our journey continues, we will keep on growing the open source foundation. Jeroen started by saying that we were looking for help in this organization that understood open source. That is very important. For those that were here at the conference last year, we've talked about open source and the challenges, right, of open source versus commercial software. And we didn't want a CEO who come in and say, oh, you're giving away free stuff, let's stop doing that. Because that is not what open source is. Building a community and this foundation together is really important to us. So first of all, thank you all for being part of building that. Then as we continue, we capture, and you capture, using that foundation, a lot of interesting data. Business data, performance data. There's all sorts of metrics that we can combine with the source code, with the actual intent. What are you trying to achieve with this source code? And if we can combine all of that together, we can do so many more smart things. We can automate the improvement process of our software. And we want to enable and be part of an agentic ecosystem. We are not looking at building all the agents and pushing everyone, oh, they do that, let us do that as well. We want to connect all the agents. We know that Claude Code is doing a really good job at coding, but it can also do a very bad job at coding. So what does it need to be consistently good? And how can our agents help those agents be better? And this is how we look at this ecosystem. So we'll build whatever we're building, and we'll connect that with whatever you are building as well. I hope you like the new Axoniq. I do. And I hope you'll like today and tomorrow. I mean, part of it is up to you. Pick the right sessions to go to, pick the right workshops, participate, enjoy. There's a lot of enthusiasts here about event sourcing. If you like event sourcing, please raise your hand. No, just kidding. Just everyone. So go out, connect, and don't forget to be event-driven. Thank you. And with that, we have a 15-minute break, I believe. And then you can find your way to the new sessions. If you have any questions, I'll be out and around. I'm this one, and you should be able to recognize me. And I'll see you around. Enjoy.